Right, let's get started. Our first category for today that we're all going to discuss, we're going to go through, I have to try and probably skim through, we've got about 15 minutes per category, is our prospect to watch in 2022. Andy, I'm going to go over to you first. We're going to have, let's go for your British, well, we'll do both at the same time. Let's go for British and world prospect to watch in 2022.
So British, I'm going to go Mark Dickinson. I saw him in Newcastle in October. It didn't last very long. He's just a really good fighter. He didn't stay in the amateur setup that long. It looked to me like he was going to be first choice to go to the first Olympic qualifier way back in March 2020, and he didn't get the nod for that. I haven't quite worked out exactly what happened there, because he did look like he was going to be in pole position. But he's a good fighter, and Ben Davison's really excited about him, and rightly so. So I think he's someone who could move really quick on the British scene. I think he's already had a couple now, hasn't he? 2-0, maybe.
Yeah,
even
2-0.
Yeah, 2-0. Internationally, I always want to pick fighters who've had a handful of fights. So I'm going to go for someone I saw at the weekend who I didn't know anything about previously. Jahi Tucker, 6-0 now. I just thought he looked really good. I don't really know anything about him, to be honest. He's from New York. Other than that, I just go on what I saw the other day. And
he did look good.
He looked a good fighter.
Yeah.
He looked a good fighter. So I was racking my brains about this one on the way in, because you go through all sorts of kind of names and you think, do they really qualify as a prospect?
That's the interesting thing. Like what? Yeah.
But I've just decided on him because it's recent and he genuinely is a prospect.
Barry?
For me, I was caught in between two, except for the Olympians I've just turned over. But I was like Dennis McCann still. But I think for me, Dante Dixon. I think the last time I saw him, he looked fantastic. Just so, and you can see a special fighter where they're busy without doing loads. Does that make any sense? Like Anthony Yard was like that. He used to get the job done really quick, but never panic and never rush his work. I thought Dixon was just brilliant. He had a little something about him that might be a little bit special. Time will tell, of course, because you step up in levels and you might get found out. But right now, he looks like he might have pretty much most of what you need to get to the top. I just want to mention a woman who's not young, but she's a prospect, is Nina Hughes. Like I watched her at the York Hall the other day, Nina Smith Hughes, I think she used to be a Smith. And she's maybe in her 30s, and she was like the female Cal Froch. Honest to God.
So I actually don't know what that means. I'm waiting for it. Yeah.
Just relentless.
Flat earther or
massive nose like that. No, I mean, she was just relentless. She just pummeled this girl to pieces. It was just, and I just thought, like, she'd be boxing for the world title by the end of 2022. I'd be shocked if she's not. And she's a bantamweight, so we got plenty of bantamweights in the UK, and she's one to watch as well. But for me, I think that Dante Dixon is someone might have that little bit of an X factor.
Who was Dante Dixon's last fight against? He went.
I don't think he's boxed for a while.
Boxed Jordan McCorry.
Yeah,
was his last fight. Yeah, had to show a little. It was on his own card. I think you tell me.
Yeah. He looked really good.
He looked good, and Jordan
McCrawley's a good benchmark.
Yeah, because he's boxed all of those boys.
Woodstock,
Archie Sharp.
I was waiting to see what was going to happen with him promotionally, because we had him on Sky a few times and he looked really good. And I know kind of towards the start of last year middle of last year when the split had happened and people were kind of thinking about who you would want to try and sign. I said Dante Dixon straight away. So, because I agree with you. Whenever I've seen him, I've done like 2 or 3 of his fights, I just thought, wow, he looks really, really good.
He looks very, very flash. I think one of the things that I remember from the McCorry fight was just him getting a little bit carried away after 1 or 2 rounds. McCorry tough as old boots, sticking in there. And I think the last 30 seconds, I think it was an 8-rounder, last 30 seconds of the 8th round, McCorry was really hanging in there.
Yeah.
But I think Dante Dixon is kind of sort of the double-edged sword of somebody of his skill set and stature, where he just has to rein it in a little bit at this stage of his career.
Also, McCrory's the fight that they put you in before you challenge for a title.
Yeah, I mean, I think he was 5-0 or something to get that, and then box McCorry, which is so great.
So they're rushing him, but not over rushing him.
It's a good fight at that stage of his career.
I think for someone who's ambitious, And for me at world level, I'm still with Jared Anderson. We mentioned him the last time I was here. When you gave me COVID, and with no one ever seen that. But I think he's another kid who has a limited amateur experience, but he's so naturally gifted, so loose with his work that he's almost like a blank canvas because he's so athletic. I think he's someone you can do loads of work with and tighten him up, make him a little bit better. But I think he has a lot. He has a good vision to his work. I think he has a lot to his game now. I think this year will be a big year for him.
Ade, how about you? Your UK and international prospect of 2022. Who's your one to watch?
I don't know if you still class him as a prospect, because I think you look at him and you think that there's something already there, and he could go. I think he could win the British title immediately now, and that's Dalton Smith. I think he's a special talent. I really do. I think I like the way in which he fought abroad last time, just to kind of keep him under the radar and ticking over. I spoke to him a few weeks ago, and he's ready to go now. He's almost one that they might have to rein in a little bit, because he wants everything. I think he potentially will look at someone like, if he does lose to Josh Taylor, and I think we'll probably agree, Jack Cattrall, he'll probably look at that at the end of the year and think, that's kind of my aim for the end of the year in terms of what I want, which is a big ask, but I think they might push him already. I like him at 140 pounds, very big at the weight, so he might go up a weight as well to 147, but I think there's something there with Dalton Smith, and I wouldn't be shocked if he's not fighting sort of European level, fringe European level by the end of the year. Honestly, I think they are going to really fast track him just because of what he's got. Another one. Can I do two for British? Can I? Have we got time? Can I do another one?
Come on, Ade.
You know, because I'm just thinking about him now, and it's the cruiserweight that fought.
Should we paint your chair green first before you take over?
I was going to ask to bring him in, if I'm honest with you. I'm shocked that he didn't ask me to bring him in, if I'm honest with you. But I like the cruiserweight, Jordan Thompson. There's something about him. Massive cruiserweight, by the way, as well. Honestly, when I saw him, I couldn't believe the size of him. You know, everyone, we always talk about Lawrence Okolie and how thick and tall he is. And he was a bit slimmer than Lawrence Okolie, but almost a bit taller as well. A bit spiteful. Had his time out of the ring. Not quite sure what the reasons were, but he's now back and he's had 2 fights in quick succession. He looks like he's got a bit of power to him as well. So I think he could be interesting to see how they move him as well in 2022. I think they're going to try and put him on as many shows as possible because he's got a bit of a following as well. So I think he's very, very good and one to look out for. World scene, I was going to mention him as well, Jared Anderson.
Is he big enough? He's 6'4".
That's my query.
Is he big enough?
I think he.
It's weird now.
I know it's mental to say that about
Someone's
somebody
6'4".
Somebody
6'4" and 17 stone.
2 inches or 3 inches taller than Big George Foreman.
But I think, and listen, he has all his own way so far. But I think he's got that good natural vision and movement that I think he can close the gap quick, but still got fast enough feet to get him out of trouble. And because he's naturally athletic, you'll exit at a different angle.
Yeah, and it depends what we're talking about in terms of, obviously, look, we're saying prospects. So I'm not in any way saying I think he's going to win a world title in a couple of years. That's going to be difficult. But in terms of sort of ticking off, like, guys coming towards the end, look, the heavyweight division is full of guys where you can find a former past world title challenger like they have been doing with other prospects, and he'll run through those very, very quickly. And I think there's so much more to add to him. As Barry said, you look at him and there is a bit of a blank canvas there that you can add so much. He's very, very athletic, very fast. He's got power. I think it's all the wins, and I know this is typical of most heavyweights coming up, but every fight's been won by knockout, which doesn't really say much because that's what you do, right? You put him in with fighters like that. But I think there are so many good fights for him to have in 2022 where we'll see by the end of the year if he is, as you say, big enough to challenge the big boys, because you are in the land of the giants now with the heavyweights, aren't you? Yeah. And if you're not 6'6" and above, unless you're Alexander Usyk, it's difficult, but we'll see what he can do.
Yeah, I think I like him a lot.
But it might be Alexander Usyk, so then he will be big enough. Just not good enough.
I also like the fact that he's outspoken, he's charismatic. His ring attire for his last fight was good. He came out with like his pimp cane, and I think it was like an homage to.
As long as he's not doing a Montana Love and bringing a dog to the ring, then it's fine. I mean, that was drawing the line for me. You crossed the line. You crossed the line.
Right, for myself, for my good self, I'll go with. So I've got 2 for the UK as well. So one is Adam Azim. I think Adam Azim's very, very talented.
Both Azims are good, aren't they?
Both Azims are good. I think Adam might just have that X factor. I think Hassan's probably the bigger puncher out of the 2, but Adam, very, very fast hands. Fast.
A bit more flashier as well.
I watched him about 14 months ago, spar Luke Campbell. At the time he was 18, Adam. And Luke's retired now, so I'm sure he won't watch this anyway. They have electricity and Hull. He gave a very good account of himself. And Luke Campbell's one of those fighters, as we all know, some fighters good in the gym, some fighters not so good. Luke Campbell's very good in the gym, and I watched Adam Azim give a very good account of himself, along with Dalton Smith as well, in preparation for the Ryan Garcia fight. Very excited to see Adam Azim. Mark Dickinson, who you've just mentioned, Andy, I watched him spar 10 rounds the other day with a world-class fighter and give a very good account of himself. 22 years old, 2-0. to be doing it 3-4 rounds at the end of a spar when somebody's already had their circuits and they're tired is one thing. To do 10 rounds straight through with a world-class guy at 22 years old,
Super impressive.
I was very impressed. It's the first time I've seen him up close. I know you were talking about him in the amateurs. But yeah, that's the first I've seen of him. And on the world stage, the Boxing Social 2021 Prospect of the Year, Keyshawn Davis, who I'm very much looking forward to. Mark Castro as well, of course. Mark Castro beat him 3 times in the amateurs. Kind of spawned one of the best quotes of 2021 where he said, they said, well, tell us about your amateur rivalry with Keyshawn Davis. He's like, I beat him 3-0. That's not a rivalry. Which I thought was a fantastic throwaway line. I think there's a lot to come from Mark Castro too. I just like the style of Keyshawn Davis for the pros.
Yeah.
Nothing rushed. Like Rolls Royce. Everything he does seems to have more time. I always find you see it with a great fighter. They always have more time.
And they don't, and you can't pinpoint how they do it. That's the beauty of a potential great fighter. They have all the time in the world. They don't rush anything, but everything's really fast. And you're thinking, but I'm as fast, or I'm working as fast. I'll be rushing your work. Well, no, come they're not rushing their work, and it's a weird thing. It's I don't know how you get your feet right, or it's something you do. No, I don't do it. I never did it. But something they do that just makes them stand out and just makes it like they got all the time in the world, like they're slow motion, but they're hitting you every time. You can't get out of the way of any punches, and that is a sign of a potential great.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing how he develops.
I think it was great for him to what happened with the Olympics. That was just this incredible, unexpected bonus because obviously he turned pro, and Team USA were never going to allow pros to basically go back to the amateurs, but then with the qualifier being cancelled and it going on ranking points, and he was still up there, he did qualify. Same with Duke Reagan, so they both ended up going, and he gave Cruz a proper fight in that final.
It's a good fight.
We had Costello.
Great profile
really
for
good
him.
fight.
Great profile for him. And those fights, I know it's different, the 3-round format. It is, and you're building in the pros, and it's still very, very different. But the reality is that the boxers he faced in the Olympic Games are way better than anyone he's going to box in the pros, probably for his next
15 fights.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing those guys develop in 2022.